Hey, I'm Megan. Most people know me as the Barndo chick. If you have been thinking about a Barndominium, but the financing side feels unpredictable, you are not imagining it. Today, I'm going to break down why Barndominium financing feels like gambling and how the right setup removes most of that uncertainty. I've dropped a link in the comments below that walk you through exactly how to get started. Clients who began this year, they're already on track to move into their beautiful new Barndos for the holidays this year. And that does not happen by accident. And if there's something specific you want covered or a different type of content you'd like to see, leave a comment below. I actually use that feedback when planning future videos. So let's get into it. People say building a barndominium feels like a gamble because for most of them, it is the first time they've ever done anything like this. They're not starting with experience. They're starting with a vision, a Pinterest board, a few saved videos, or maybe even a picture of what they want their life to look like at the end. What makes it feel risky is not the barndominium itself, it's that gap between where they are today and where they really want to end up, and having no visibility into what lives in that middle space. When you can't see the full path, every step feels dangerous. They're afraid of losing money. They're afraid of making the wrong move that can't be undone. They're afraid of getting emotionally invested and being told no halfway through. And that fear creates paralysis. Or worse, rush decisions just to feel like progress is being made. That's why this process feels like a gamble before it ever becomes a plan. This isn't because people are careless or even irresponsible. It's because they default to the steps that feel familiar. Buying land feels tangible. Ordering architectural plans feels productive. Talking to builders feels like forward motion. The problem is that those steps are often taken without context. I see people buy land that they can't build on because zoning was never checked. I see people fall in love with architectural designs that can't be financed the way they assumed. I see money spent early that quietly locks them into a corner later. No one explains this up front, not because people are hiding information, but because most professionals only see one slice of the process. And when no one owns the full picture, the client carries all of the risk without realizing it. It's not a personal failure, that is a system gap. The real risk, it's not construction. It's definitely not barndominiums. It's sequence. Early decisions made without financial or structural context are what create irreversible problems later. Buying land before understanding the budget, designing architectural plans before confirming feasibility, choosing aesthetics before confirming funding. Once money is spent in the wrong order, flexibility disappears. And financing does not fix poor sequencing, it actually amplifies it. People assume things are just going to work themselves out later. This is math. This is not optimism. Land has a cost. Builds have a cost. Builders have pricing structures. Lenders have rules. None of that adjusts after the fact. The gamble is not in building. The gamble is guessing. Ironically, the people who research the most often struggle the most. They consume endless content and they gather opinions. They read forums online. They watch video after video after video. And instead of clarity, they end up with a ton of contradictions. Advice that works in Georgia, that doesn't apply in Arizona. Cost per square foot numbers mean absolutely nothing without finish levels. Insulation debates, those turn into ideological wars instead of situational decisions. The more information they gather without context, the harder it becomes to move forward. And analysis paralysis sets in. It's real. Confidence erodes, and eventually people freeze. Not because they're incapable, but because they're just overwhelmed. Smart people do not fail because they did not try. They fail because they tried to solve a system problem with scattered information. The gamble disappears when structure replaces guesswork. When the order is right, decisions stop being emotional and they start being informed. You're no longer reacting, now you're evaluating. Structure does not mean a checklist. It means understanding which decisions are foundational and which are flexible. It means knowing what must be solved first and what can move in parallel and what should wait. When you see the entire board early, you stop obsessing over those tiny little details. Big constraints, those get addressed first. And once those are mapped correctly, every single step becomes easier, not harder. That's when the project stops feeling risky and starts feeling manageable. If this process feels confusing, that's normal. You are not behind and you are definitely not unqualified. You're simply standing at the beginning of something complex. The mistake isn't not knowing. The mistake is pretending that you do, or trusting someone who has never walked the full path themselves. With the right structure, this stops being a gamble and it becomes a sequence, a strategy, a plan that you can actually trust. And when that happens, the excitement comes back. Not because everything is perfect, but because you finally know that you're moving in the right direction.